This woman values Netflix and her personal time more than anything. She skips events to be alone, she avoids men to be alone, and she never goes out. Imagine living a life where everything's planned, down to the last hour of your day. Mi-rae's the kind of person who schedules her free time. Her days map down to the hour, and when she finally gets a few hours to herself, she spends it watching Netflix like it's a reward she's earned. She isn't cold, but she doesn't have space for romance. Relationships don't fit into her system, and honestly, she prefers it that way. Work's already chaotic enough. She's at a webtoon company, juggling deadlines, fragile creators, and constant pressure to keep their biggest series on top. And right in the middle of all that, there's Park Kyeong-nam. He's good, annoyingly good. The kind of guy who reads your pitch, tears it apart in 5 seconds, and somehow, he's right. He doesn't sugarcoat anything, doesn't try to be nice, and for some reason that just makes him more respected. Everyone else admires him. Mi-rae? She's not impressed. But Kyeong-nam isn't even her biggest problem. That would be Eun-song. She's the creator of the top webtoon with the hottest male lead in Korea, The Man to Know and the male lead, Si-woo, and also their biggest headache. She's talented, yes, but she's sensitive, dramatic, and one bad comment away from threatening lawsuits. Managing her isn't a job, it's survival. And Mi-rae already knows that, because she's handled her before. It didn't end well. Her best friend Ji-yeon keeps trying to push her back into the world. Come to this wedding, meet someone, date a mature guy. Mi-rae entertains it for exactly one evening, and then stumbles home drunk, collapses on the floor, and wakes up the next morning with a new problem at work. Her company's most valuable author just became available. The producer managing Nemo's #1 webtoon just quit. The stress of handling Eun-song finally broke him. Eun-song. The name alone makes the romance producers disappear from the room. Fans love the webtoon, but fans also drag it constantly for being cliché, and Eun-song does not take criticism well. Both Mi-rae and Kyeong-nam show up at the director's door with bribes, each trying to push this nightmare assignment onto the other. The director gives the job to Mi-rae. Of course he does. Mi-rae knows exactly what she's walking into. She managed Eun-song before. She knows the woman is high maintenance, emotionally volatile, and has a lawyer on speed dial for practically anything. But there's something else Mi-rae knows about Eun-song that nobody talks about. 3 years ago, Eun-song's relationship fell apart because of this webtoon. Her ex, a man named Se-jun, is now engaged to someone else, a woman named Yumi. And Se-jun? He's also a mutual friend. Mi-rae overhears this at a wedding and something shifts in her face. Not a breakdown, just a quiet, exhausted kind of pain. Because Se-jun was the one she thought she was going to marry. And looking back now, she realizes she was probably the only one who ever really thought that. He always said I when he talked about the future. Never we. So no, Mi-rae doesn't have time for relationships. She doesn't have time to get her heart broken again. And then, completely by accident, she gets offered the perfect solution. In the middle of a work meeting, a businessman named Min Jun-young walks in with his team and a pitch. They've built a dating simulation platform using Si-woo, the character from Eun-song's own webtoon. It's called Boyfriend on Demand, and it's not just a game, it's a full sensory experience. Expensive tech, immersive dating scenarios across hundreds of different themes. Min wants Mi-rae to test it. 1 month, real feedback, and he'll pay her for it. Maybe it's tea. The fact that her ex is getting married or the feeling of loneliness, but that night she puts on the device. And suddenly, she's standing on a beach in a scene ripped straight from the pages of The Man to Know. Si-woo washing up on shore after surfing, the sea glittering behind him, and a wave coming in to knock her right off her feet. She saves him. Their eyes meet. And Mi-rae doesn't hate it. Inside this world, she gets a ring to wear. Put it on, she's in. Take it off, she's back to reality. Her personal dating manager appears. A guide who'll steer her through every experience, every candidate, every scenario. There are over 900 men to choose from. Mi-rae is not prepared for how real it feels. Her first proper date with Si-woo sends her to a hotel where she's playing the role of a worker caught up in a classic chaebol fantasy. The dialogue is exactly as cheesy as the webtoon it's based on, and Mi-rae can barely get through it without vomiting. She pulls the ring off, logs out, and goes to work the next day quietly impressed by something she can't fully explain. But there's still the real world to deal with. The director has decided to move Kyeong-nam's author Hwani to Fridays, which puts him in direct competition with Eun-song's webtoon. Kyeong-nam is furious. Mi-rae is caught in the middle. And Eun-song? She's in a karaoke booth ignoring everyone's calls. When Mi-rae finally tracks her down, Eun-song is ready to give up. She knows her work has gotten lazy. She's been coasting on Si-woo's face for 3 years and she knows it. But Mi-rae has an idea. She's been spending time inside this fantasy app, dating Si-woo, feeling the pull of the classic chaebol romance. And what she realizes is when it works, it really works. The tropes aren't the problem. The cheesy dialogue is, strip that out. Go back to the fantasy. Lean into it instead of apologizing for it. Yoon-song uploads the new chapter. The man to know climbs back to the top of the charts overnight. Mi-rae walks into the office the next day and quietly soaks in every second of applause. Meanwhile, she's also discovering that the app has a soft cap on her time with Si-woo. Si-woo tries to propose. She says, let's keep it casual. He says, fine, but be my girlfriend. He leans in to kiss her and her brain floods with dopamine and then the whole thing freezes. She's hit her 50-hour limit. She logs out feeling genuinely annoyed at a digital man for leaving her hanging, so her dating advisor tells her that there are 899 other men in this app. She hasn't even scratched the surface. And Mi-rae, trying very hard to be a responsible adult about this, puts the headset back on. The next guy she meets is nothing like Si-woo. His name is Eun-ho. And instead of a penthouse in Champaign, this date takes place on a university campus bathed in pastel pink, complete with matching jumpers and the distinct energy of first love. And what does it say about someone that the first thing they use a fantasy machine for is to relive the feeling of being 17? Eun-ho is a star fencer at Hansai University. Cool. Not immediately interested in her. Doesn't come running. And that for some reason makes Mi-rae want him more. She joins the fencing club. Spars with him in front of everyone. Actually beats him. He still doesn't fall at her feet. Her dating manager explains it. Some of these 900 candidates require effort. They don't just hand over their hearts. Mi-rae has to actually work for it. She finds this both infuriating and weirdly familiar. There's a rival in this scenario too, a girl named Yerin, who's also after Eun-ho. Which means Mi-rae is now competing for the affections of a fictional man against another fictional woman, and she's taking it completely seriously. They end up stuck together in a laundry room during a rainstorm. He teases her. She softens. He tells her she doesn't need to worry about Yerin. And something about this scenario, the simplicity of it, the ordinary warmth of it, starts pulling up memories she'd buried. Because Eun-ho reminds her of Si-jun, of the beginning of things before they got complicated. Back in the real world, she's checking Si-jun's social media and seeing his posts with Yumi. He always told her he hated posting pictures of people on his page. The app becomes easier than facing any of that. She starts napping in the office break room to get more time inside the game. She's barely keeping up with work, and her team is starting to notice. One night, after a team dinner, Kyeong-nam walks out with her. She mentions she has a date thing going on, so she can't stay. He pulls out an umbrella, and then walks away with it, leaving her in the rain. It's such a small, stupid moment, but she thinks about it longer than she should. That same night, Si-jun calls. He's seen that she got the wedding invitation, and he wants to apologize for not warning her first. His voice is calm, careful. The voice of someone who figured things out a long time ago. Mi-rae hangs up and puts on the headset. She only has 4 hours left on this subscription and her mood is raw, but Eun-ho finds her on a bus ride and sits beside her. He doesn't fix anything, he just stays. And somehow that's enough for her to finally let herself grieve Si-jun properly. The good parts and the bad parts. The version of that relationship she kept in her head and the one that actually existed. The sun sets, the subscription runs out, she gives Eun-ho 5 stars, and then she pays for a full subscription. 500,000 won a month, her own virtual house inside the game, a wardrobe full of dresses, and 899 more men she hasn't met yet. Her next date is with an NIS agent. Government intelligence, high stakes, lots of running. Mi-rae is posing as a flight attendant. There are fight scenes, international terrorists. At one point, she is almost certainly going to die in this simulation, and she looks like she's having the time of her life. The app keeps throwing her into different genres, period dramas, medical romances, spy thrillers. She rates them all meticulously. She's basically writing a full academic paper on virtual boyfriends. She's also, unfortunately, letting typos slip through at work. One of Yoon-song's chapters goes live with a glaring error, and the director is furious. Kyeong-nam teases her about it in the break room. Yoon-song is not teased about it. Yoon-song is enraged. But then something strange arrives at Yoon-song's office. A gift. A boyfriend on demand headset. Nobody says who sent it. And before Mi-rae can process any of that, her dating manager does her a favor. Eun-ho is back. Years have passed in the simulation. They're picking up where a story would have gone if it kept going. He's different now. More comfortable. More like someone you could actually build something with. And Mi-rae realizes that what she was really grieving wasn't Si-jun. It was the version of herself who still believed in that kind of love. The game evolves. Eun-ho can now contact her outside the headset. Texts, calls, messages on her real phone even when she's logged out. She starts showing up late to work because she was up until 2 a.m. talking to him. Kyeong-nam notices she keeps smiling at her phone. He doesn't say anything yet. Ji-yeon shows up at her door in tears. After 30 men and years of trying, she's exhausted. She can't tell if soulmates are real or if she's just been chasing something that doesn't exist. Mi-rae listens. And somewhere in the middle of that conversation, she's also asking herself the same question, just about a man who was never real to begin with. The office retreat forces everyone into one place for a night. No signal, no app, no Eun-ho. Just Kyeong-nam, drunk on soju, lining up empty bottles in a perfectly neat row and losing a bottle cap down the side of a bench, looking mortified about it. It's the least impressive thing he's ever done. And it is somehow the most human she's ever seen him. On the drive back, he tells her plainly, her sales numbers are slipping, and the director is worried, so she needs to get it together. And then, in the same breath, he tells her he likes her. Actually says the words, asks her out. She doesn't answer. She just gets out of the car. But she turns it over in her head for days. Because the night before, Kyeong-nam had shut down Eun-ho completely when she approached him, told her they had absolutely no chance of dating, which means he means what he says. He's not playing games. She tells him she's already seeing someone. She means Eun-ho. Kyeong-nam nods, gives her space. And then she gets online and discovers that 12,434 other women are also dating Eun-ho right now. Every date she thought was hers. Every moment she thought was built for her. All of it, identical. Replicated across thousands of subscriptions, running simultaneously. She takes off the ring. The app has a solution. It's called BOD 901, a completely bespoke experience. One man built entirely around her answers, her patterns, her preferences. No shared time slots, no identical moments. Hers alone. His name will be Gu Young-il. She answers every question, takes her time, thinks about it properly. And when she steps onto that road and he's standing there waiting for her in a leather jacket with red hair, holding her dotted scarf in his hand, he looks exactly like Kyeong-nam. She immediately tries to return him. The dating manager says no returns. So now she's walking into work every day trying to figure out if she's been lying to herself for months. She starts actually looking at him the way he moves, the way he talks, the way he dismisses nonsense without cruelty. She's annoyed to find she likes what she sees. She goes back into the app and tries to date Young-il instead. He's everything she asked for: free-spirited, warm, a little edgy, zero emotional baggage. The perfect hybrid. She comes out of the session and checks her heart rate around Kyeong-nam. But nothing. She's relieved. She tells herself it's confirmation. Young-il and Kyeong-nam are different people. The company attends a big webtoon award ceremony. Yoon-song wins the popularity award. Kyeong-nam's author Hwani wins best work, which is the bigger deal. Yoon-song takes this about as well as you'd expect. Outside the venue, she's in a full meltdown. She pushes Mi-rae, and Kyeong-nam catches her, right as fireworks go off behind them. Mi-rae's heart does something she'd really like it to stop doing. At dinner, Yoon-song drags out an old grievance. Apparently, Hwani used to leave presents outside her door and she assumed he was in love with her. He gently explains he was actually interested in her assistant Soo-young. The table goes quiet. Yoon-song claims she has a boyfriend. Everyone politely pretends to believe her, but she actually does, a man named Jong who calls that night while Mi-rae is taking her home. The night ends on the beach. Mi-rae is sitting with a beer, tipsy, talking to Young-il on the phone. And then Kyeong-nam appears in front of her. She thinks he's Young-il. She reaches out and touches his face, and Kyeong-nam stands very still and lets her. Meanwhile, Kyeong-nam had been in love with her from the beginning. Every coincidence that kept pulling them together, elevator rides, Secret Santa, the jacket incident, he'd noticed all of it. He'd been trying badly in the way that people try when they're not sure they're allowed to. The retreat, the bottle caps, the umbrella he walked away with, all of it was him trying to figure out how to tell her something without having to say it direct. Mi-rae, meanwhile, decides she's going to start being confident around him. She immediately walks headfirst into a glass door. Kyeong-nam watches the whole thing. He picks up the keyring she drops on her way out, holds on to it. The office heater breaks during winter. They end up side by side in front of a small space heater, staying late, talking about nothing and everything. It's so mundane it hurts a little. Then Hwani's webtoon overtakes Yoon-song in the rankings. Then they all end up at the same restaurant by accident, Hwani's team and Yoon-song's team, and the evening somehow turns into something good. Outside, Kyeong-nam tells her he wants to be honest with her. And when she admits she's actually single, He says it simply. He wants to show her how much he cares. She doesn't run this time. He gives her a Christmas card that night, asking her to dinner. Just them. By the time Christmas passes and the art exhibition arrives, this is the part of the story where it should get easy. And for a little while, it does. They're good together. But she hasn't told him about the app. An advertisement for Boyfriend on Demand plays on the office TV. Kyeong-nam laughs at it, says something dismissive about women who'd get caught up in something like that. Mi-rae sits perfectly still. Journalists start drawing comparisons between the new plots in Eun-song's webtoon and the scenarios inside Boyfriend on Demand. The characters are too similar. The situation's too close. Given that Mi-rae helped redesign the webtoon's direction, and she was simultaneously testing the app, the internet does not take this well. Eun-song's readers feel betrayed. The app gets dragged. The company is in crisis mode. And in the middle of all this, Mi-rae panics. She'd left a USB drive at home with her app review files on it. She calls Kyeong-nam and asks him to grab it before she gets back. She realizes her mistake halfway home. He's already there. He's already found the headset. He's already found the folder labeled Review. He hugs her. Acts like everything's fine. She can't tell if he knows. That night, while she's asleep, he can't sleep. He goes to get a glass of water. He finds a photo of her and a video from Young-il. He puts on the headset and comes face to face with the man she built to look exactly like him. The morning after is quiet in the worst way. He's not yelling. He's not throwing things. He's just cold. The kind of cold that comes from someone who trusted you and is now very carefully figuring out what that trust was worth. He brings up the app directly. Says he logged in, saw Young-il. She tries to explain that the subscription was running alongside their relationship, that she'd gone back to confront Young-il, that it was never what it looks like. All technically true, all slightly beside the point, because the point is that she built a perfect boyfriend who looks like him, dated him in secret. While they were getting closer and never once thought to bring it up, the workplace doesn't offer a reprieve. Eun-song has been dropped from the company following the BOD plagiarism controversy, and she is not leaving quietly. She storms into the office. They're shouting. A huge promotional cutout of Siwoo gets caught in the scuffle and torn apart. Mi-rae gets a cut on her finger from it. Kyeong-nam walks in while someone's patching her up. He barely looks at her. She stares at her phone, thinks about what Ji-yeon told her. Don't go all in too fast, don't overwhelm them. But the silence between her and Kyeong-nam isn't comfortable. It's just empty. She heads back into the app. Not for a date this time, to confront Young-il. She tells him what happened, asks what he said to Kyeong-nam when he logged in, and then she logs out and sits with the fact that she's been using a perfect man to avoid the terrifying imperfection of a real one. She goes back to work and does the harder thing. She defends Eun-song, tells the director that firing their best author over a controversy that hasn't even been proven is an overreaction. Pushes until he agrees to a suspension instead. It's the most she's fought for anything in a while, including herself. Kyeong-nam finds her at the coffee shop around the corner. He'd been thinking. He'd been talking to Hwani over dinner, trying to sort through all of it. And Hwani said something simple. A digital boyfriend, no matter how good the algorithm, can't account for the unpredictability of actually loving someone. It can't replicate the parts that scare you. Kyeong-nam knows this, because the parts that scare him about Mi-rae are exactly the parts he can't stop thinking about. He tells her he's been following his heart and he knows exactly what it's telling him. He hugs her, and her heart starts fluttering again. The real thing, not the dopamine explosion from a simulation, just the quiet, warm, terrifying flutter of someone choosing you, even after they've seen the complicated parts. She decides that's what she wants too. For the record, before any of this beautiful reconciliation sticks, Mi-rae accidentally pushes Kyeong-nam into a shelf in a storage room when they almost get caught together. The shelf falls on him. He breaks his arm. She races to the hospital, and when she finds him, she grabs his hand and apologizes over and over, crying in the way people cry when they're not even thinking about how they look anymore. Their colleague Dong-min witnesses all of it and very quietly removes himself from the room. So the love story that begins with a webtoon typo and a virtual kiss reaches its turning point in a hospital hallway with a broken arm and a woman who finally stopped protecting herself long enough to just feel something. She tells him she went back to see Young-il again. She tells him she's terrified it's all going to fall apart, that she knows what it feels like to invest everything in someone and end up with nothing. He says he's falling for her more every day, and that scares him too. But he'd rather feel that fear than not feel anything at all. He says he just wants to live in the moment, take it as it comes. And Mi-rae, who color codes her schedule, who blocked out 3.5 hours for leisure, who built an entire fantasy life because the real one hurt too much, decides to try that. Just that. No plan, no guarantee. Just the moment she's in. The director announces he's leaving for America, heading up the company's push into the international webtoon market. It's a big night for everyone. Eun-song gets her suspension instead of a firing. She starts figuring out what her career looks like when she's not panicking. Ji-yeon ends up being brought in by Mr. Min to help clean up Boyfriend on Demand's image. She'd been reviewing it under an alias and accidentally became the internet's most trusted guide for navigating virtual romance. Mr. Min, meeting her in person for the first time, immediately makes a complete fool of himself. And Mi-rae one last time puts on the headset. Not because she needs it, not because she's running from anything. She goes in to say goodbye. She says goodbye to Young-il properly. Thanks him for whatever it was. He gave her a mirror maybe, or a practice run for being the kind of person who lets herself want something. Then she takes off the ring, for good. She doesn't know how the story ends. That's the whole point. A story about a woman who needed a fake boyfriend to remember what a real one felt like, about how we sometimes have to practice being loved before we're brave enough to actually let it happen. And that was the drama recap of Boyfriend on Demand. Don't forget to subscribe for more recaps, and let me know which one you want me to break down next.